One of the symptoms of emotional illiteracy is the phenomena of telling someone or being told not to feel what they feel. Being told not to feel what we feel. Now, the symptom of ignorance is understood in the metaphor of math. So if I am ignorant about math, I may write this equation, and if we understand basic addition, we see that the number is 8. 4 plus 4 equals 8. Now, what would you do? How would you respond if somebody told you, please don't put the number 8? 4 plus 4 is, and why don't you put the 8 is such a bad number. Let's cross 8 out and put 1. 4 plus 4 equals 1. Could you just put a 1 there at the end of this equation? Now, there's a phenomena called lying. And so we can put a 1 there. We just cross out the 8 and put a 1. But the 1 isn't real. It's a certain form of insanity. If you're a bookkeeper and you do math this way, your books will be faulty, and you will most likely go bankrupt if you operate in a state of delusion where numbers don't add up. Because at some level, the bank isn't going to go insane just to support your stupidity or your incompetence with math. So feelings are like this number here. If you induce high levels of traumatic pain, for example, where you have a very large energy in a dominating relationship with a small energy. So you have domination, and you have the law of mass in play. The big energy, as we can see in physics, if these two balls, if a pinball and a bowling ball collide, the pinball goes bouncing off. The pinball is redirected, and the bowling ball continues on its natural trajectory. It's the law of mass. Now, we have, in human terms, and we're all looking at this through human lenses, because outside of the human lens, one cannot relate to the human sense of right and wrong. When a father molests his daughter, for example, we know that that is wrong. But ecologically speaking, perhaps this is a rebalancing act, right? If you look at it ecologically, human beings are spending an extraordinary amount of energy damaging their children and each other and ourselves, whether it's various forms of addiction and all of this. And we could say that's not wrong at all. This is an overpopulated member of an ecology that is undermining its own basis for ecological existence, and it is good that it is diminishing its population in a whole host and variety of ways. This isn't bad at all, right? So our understanding of right and wrong is from a human perspective. We say that it's wrong for a father to molest his daughter. Why? Because we say it's wrong for a parent to do things that lead to chronic, probable, and unnecessary suffering. Meaning incest survivors have a host of statistical lifetime challenges. Not all of them. There's always an exception to the rule. But statistically speaking, if you take 1,000 people that have been repeatedly sexually abused by their parents, then those people are going to have statistical correlations. One of them is obesity. When sexuality or lust is used as a weapon, as everything feels like a weapon if it's a certain intensity. Like we could have a handshake that grips the hand with 2 tons of weight, cracks all the bones, and now a handshake is a weapon. Why? Because it's too big in relationship to something that's too small. These bones are not designed to withstand 3 tons of weight. So to do that, to have something so big next to something so small, is a weaponization. Now, if sex is turned into a weapon by age 3, you realize that one's physical beauty is actually a liability. And so one of the correlations with incest is obesity, chronic obesity. And it's not a disease in the sense. It's a remedy towards chronic sociopathic behavior, where presumably, if at 3 or 10 years old, the girl was so ugly that the father did not feel narcissistically aroused and interested in pursuing his immediate gratification at the expense of his daughter's well-being, well, then he would have gone and done that with someone else. Sociopaths always find the most expedient path, and somebody who looked ugly to the biology of the human body would not bring that up. So the weight is actually a remedy for a sociopathic culture, and to protect oneself from the sexuality that has been wired in and registered as a weapon, because it was used that way at a time when the child was helpless. Now, if you combine traumatic high levels of pain with helplessness, meaning you want the pain to stop and nobody helps you. Every infant wants the pain to stop. And if it doesn't stop, if it goes on and on and on and on, it's called helplessness, because you are helpless. You are less the help that you needed, you desired, you wanted. Now, high levels of pain combined with helplessness produce hate. That's the recipe, by the way. If you want to induce hate, produce high levels of pain, and this will create terror. Because at a certain level of pain, as you go up the pain continuum, the pain morphs into terror. Terror that you will continue in this level of pain because you lack the ability to get out, right? This is why the, quote, war on terror is so absurd and hypocritical. Because the war on terror, which is in itself a form of emotional illiteracy and ignorance, because you are never at war with math, right? If you think your problem is the 8 here, you're stupid, but you're in good company because we are an emotionally illiterate cult. We're a cult because we copy each other independent of rationality, independent of sanity. There's any number of things that you can look at in our cult that you say, okay, so this is how you're trying to solve this. Okay, is it working? No, it's not working. Okay. Are you changing it? No, we're not changing it. We're not changing it. It's not working, but we're not changing it. So we're dealing with insanity. And then we say, well, what are we going to do about that? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to enforce conformity. And as long as everyone does this, and nobody objects to this, well, then our insanity can be validated because there's no one challenging it. We've pushed, we've used this large energy here to oppress, to conform, this small energy. Do what you are told because I said so. And there you have it. You have conformity now. So you've got a cult-like nature. A cult is simply a group of people that copy one another, even when the data tells everyone in the cult that what they're doing is insane, right? That's a cult. And every culture is based on certain cult-like habits because, well, that's why we call it a cult. It's a habit that has lost touch with the underlying intention around which the habit was originally formed. So you cannot fight the end number, meaning if you don't like 8 as the outcome, the sane person does not tell someone to turn the 8 into a 1. That is insane. Rather, if you want this to be a 1, you have to delete this, and you can say 1 equals 1. Done. You want this to be a 1, 1 equals 1. You can also do it a few other ways. You can say 3 minus 2 equals 1. So a feeling is the effect. It is what emerges on the other side of an equation. If you want to produce hate or terror, for example, first of all, you need overwhelming mass, and you need to use that mass to cause overwhelming pain. That's what the U.S. military did in Iraq. When the U.S. military and coalition used the world's military to kill 1 million Iraqis, most civilians, it used overwhelming mass to cause overwhelming amounts of pain, which translates because all fear is fear of pain. All terror is extreme fear of pain. So extreme terror was induced in an entire country. That's called producing terror. Now, if you want to go insane, you produce terror, and then rather than saying we are terrorists because we produced terror, we used a large energy to kill and traumatize a smaller energy, producing predictable levels of pain that lead to predictable levels of terror, trauma, and PTSD. We can now say that we are, as a cult, the largest producer of terror, certainly in Iraq, in recent history. Now, if you call that a war on terror rather than a war to create terror, you don't have the mathematics straight, right? The point is that whatever you're feeling is an equation between what you believe, between what you expect, between what you're thinking, and what your body is sensing around you. And that equals what you are feeling. Hate, love, joy, excitement, depression. That is the result. If you want a different answer, you have to think different things, believe different things, and move your body into a different environment. Totals, are educators. Going back, 4 plus 4 equals 8. 8 is an educator about what is going on. It reveals data about the equation that we are participating in. And that is also what feelings are. They are the byproduct. If you want less hate in the world, don't tell your children to hate less. Produce less overwhelming abuse of power. Increase help. Reduce pain consistently, and there will be no hate. If you reduce powerlessness, which correlates to helplessness, by being helpful, the hate disappears. And you move from being emotionally illiterate to intelligently sane. Hi, I'm Dane Rose. All knowledge begins with a paradigm, and out of that paradigm comes an idea, an awareness that we adopt, reject, or synthesize into something better. It doesn't become wisdom, it doesn't become useful until we take action, until we integrate it into not only our thoughts, but our feelings, our body, our words, and our way of being. For that to occur, we have to move from the passive media paradigm into more active engagement. In the link below, in the More Information section, is an invitation to join a very small, deliberately filtered, high-quality discussion with a group of people who share a common language and want to work with these ideas, with me and with one another, with the sole goal of creating 10 times more sustainable well-being for ourselves and those around us per unit of energy invested. Thank you for watching.